Good morning, guys. Welcome to the new series of Selenium parallel test execution using ThreadLocal single design pattern. So we'll be starting new series today. Hope you like this session. So in this session, we will be covering how we can execute a Selenium test cases parallelly using ThreadLocal concept along with TestNG and using singleton design pattern. So first we'll be creating basically a base test class which will have opening the browser and closing the browser, and each browser will when it will create a Chrome driver object, it will basically have a unique process ID so that we can run our test cases parallel using that process ID. So once we create the base test class, we'll be creating our test classes so that we can execute these test cases parallelly. First we will execute some 2 test cases, and then we will execute some 5, and then 10 test cases. Also we will be creating our test class which will inherit our base test class, and so within our base test we'll be having our Chrome driver object which will have a unique process ID, and in these base test class we'll be basically opening the Chrome browser and do the operation and then close the Chrome driver. So let's get started. I will open my Eclipse here. So as a sample project, I have created this as my package, and here I have created in the main I have created some this is my one of the package, and this is another package where I have created my base test class, and under test I have created some test classes here. So before going to each and every class, I will open my first base test class. Also have created some browser factory and driver factory here. So before going to the concept of ThreadLocal, I'll quickly tell you what exactly means by a singleton pattern basically. So basically singleton pattern means one basically. So whenever we are creating only single or one instance of a class or the reference of a class, that class becomes a singleton class. So in other words, we are restricting the instantiation of class to only a single instance. So how we can do is like we can ensure that class have only one object and no other class can create this object. So to implement this, basically we need to follow some of the principles. First principle is basically we have to create a private constructor of that class so that to restrict the object creation outside that class. So here as you can see, this is my driver factory class, and I have created one private constructor here so that no other class outside can create the object of this. After that we have to create one private attribute of that class which will refer to that single object. So basically here if you can see this, I have created one private static attribute of this class. Correct. So now after this we'll be creating basically a public static method basically. So this is my method. So I've created this as, you can give some other name. I have given this as my get instance, and this is basically used to create and access the private attribute. So within this method I am going to access this private attribute which is instance. Here I'm accessing using return statement. So we can write some logic to restrict from creating more than one object using these 3 steps. So how we have implemented singleton is we have created a private constructor so that it can restrict the object outside the class. We have created one private attribute. So this is my instance, is my private attribute of this class, and one of public static method which will access this private attribute. So I'm accessing this private attribute in this get instance method. Same concept I have used in other classes also, like in the browser, not in this class, but if you see in other classes also I have used this concept. If you go to extend, so here is my extend factory class. So I have created one private constructor and created my private attribute of that class, and I'm created one static method which will access this private attribute. So if you see, I think driver factory has that concept and extend factory as of now. So this is about singleton pattern in Selenium framework. So now we will go to base test class. So in this class, basically, you can see I have created one before suit where I have all the configuration of my extend report. Basically, for reporting purpose, I am using extend report here, and so basically, extend report, if you see, is basically used to report all the log basically. So basically, we are having two types of classes here. So one is extend report class and one is extend text class. So the syntax of this is like extend report, then there is reference variable of extend report class, and then the path of the directory where we are going to store the HTML file. And then for the extend test, we will create a reference variable. Then using extend report reference, we will have some method called start test or end test. So in detail we will cover up later, but these are the two major classes which we are frequently using in extend report using Selenium. So extend report basically contains the HTML report where uh, also we will give the path of the file, and also with based on this flag only the report will be overridden or it will be a new report basically. So we have different inbuilt methods like start test, end test, log and flush. So these status also we can indicate like pass, fail, skip, info using that extend report reference variable. Like, so we can use the logging part. If you can see here, uh, the logging part I've covered in my uh, this dot log, and then it has two parameters basically. First is the status of the test case, and second being the message which you are going to print on the report. So this log method will basically take two parameters, so which we are going to cover in our test cases. So this is my test case. They have one class has four test cases like Facebook test, Google test, Flipkart test, and Mantra test. So basically, once we are getting the driver instance and we are opening the browser, opening the URL, we are navigating to that URL and then trying to get the title of the particular URL. So each test case is doing same step. So I just created four test classes here, and coming to base test class, and this test class will basically extend my base test class here. So if you go to base test class now, it has different attributes, annotation like before suit. In before suit, we have just configured our actual extend report. So where exactly our extend report in this path will be, and we are setting some of the parameters like report name and document name and theme, and other like platform and environment, other things. Now in the extend report, we are creating one before test. We are creating an object of parent test. We have again created three different thread local objects, one for parent, child, and child test new. I'll tell you why these things are required. This is basically for extend report. So I have created one child test object here, and same thing in the before method class. Now also have after method where I'm going to capture the screenshot of the test cases which are going to fail. So this extend report instance method will get the log of the failed test cases. So basically it is printing the status as fail and what which method has failed, and here it is the code of taking the screenshot basically. So based on the failure, the test case status, if it is fail, it will do these actions, and if it is pass and success, it will just give the desired events. So this is covered in the after method. Same thing for after class, we are doing just going to flush it. So, guys, we were discussing about how we can run our test cases parallelly. So, we have covered the topic of basically how we can run our test cases using different concepts like TestNG and SingleTon. Now we will discuss more about ThreadLocal. So basically, this is a syntax of creating any ThreadLocal object. So private or protected, static, ThreadLocal, and then the driver reference variable. Using that, we will create an object of ThreadLocal class. So in the framework level, how we were discussing about base test class. We have already covered about base suit and before suit, before test, and before class, and after before method, after method. Now we will go to our test classes, which I have created in my test SRC test Java. So I have created 4 different classes here. So if you go to first class, which is parallel testing thread local, so which is extending my base test. So this is my 4 tests: Google test, Facebook test, and Flipkart test. So if you go to first test, which is Google test, here I am just getting the values of my browser and the URL from my properties file, which I have created in the uh, reusable class. So if you can see, I have created a class called properties. So here I am setting the setting the values of my variables in the properties file, which I've configured in my SRC main test resources basically. So here I have configured the value of URL browser and the URL here. So it will take the values and it will uh, pass the value to my test class, which is to this variable browser and the URL. Same way for creating a thread, a local object. So it will go to my driver factory class. So if you can go to my driver factory class, I have created my thread local object here of and which is a driver here. So the syntax is same thing. We have to give private static and then we have to create a thread local object, and this is my generic WebDriver, which have to pass to this thread local. And after this, whenever we are creating any new Chrome driver object, it will basically assign a unique process ID, or it will create a new process ID, and it will run our test cases parallelly using those process IDs. So basically, whenever we are calling this thread local object, it will open the Chrome browser and it will do all those action, and it will close the browser, close the Chrome browser in one thread. So whenever multiple threads are invoked, they will run independently of each other, and it will basically run our test cases parallelly. So for that purpose, we have just created this object here, and we have also created 2 different methods. If you can see here, one is this kind of a get driver method, which will have basically get driver and the set driver. So in set driver, basically we are first trying to set the uh, a new whatever the Chrome driver or Firefox driver. So if you can see, I have taken this object and I am setting this driver param, so which is nothing but my Chrome driver or Firefox driver. If you can see, I have called this driver factory code get instance or set driver. So within this parameter, I have passed my browser instance of browser. So if you can go to, this is my object of basically browser factory here. So if you go to browser factory, whether it depends on which browser, like basically if it is a Chrome, it will initiate the Chrome driver. If it is Firefox browser, it will invoke the Firefox, and if it is IE, it will invoke the IE. So based on the browser type, it will go and set my driver here. So browser I'm getting from my properties file. So basically this line will set the driver using my driver thread local. So each based on each driver, like Chrome driver or Firefox driver object, it will create basically a new thread using this thread local object. So after this is my set method, and correspondingly I have to create a get method. So for that I have created a get driver method, and this get driver basically return me a WebDriver. So if you can see, this return type of this is WebDriver. So I have taken this, and the return, I'm returning the driver dot get here, because since I have to, this is a returns, it has to return something, so I have to give the thread local driver here. So these are the two different methods, and basically, and after each and every test cases I have to close the browser. So I'm using this driver dot get dot quit here. So this is basically uh, driver factory singleton class, where I am created a thread local object, and I have created two different methods, get driver and set driver, which is getting called here. So here I'm setting the driver, and after that I'm after getting the driver, I'm just trying to maximize the browser and wait, implicit wait, and getting the URL here. So same thing, I'm like each test case will do same these steps, like get driver dot navigate to application, and after that for each and every different unique thread ID, I'm trying to print what exactly is the thread ID number and the title. See here I'm printing, this is my current thread ID. So for each test case, it will print me the thread ID along with my title of the page, and these are the last two are my extent report log files. The same thing I'm doing here also. I'm getting the driver first, and then I'm setting the driver first, and then I'm getting the driver and navigating to the URL, and after that I'm printing the thread ID of the test method. So these are four different methods of first class. Same thing, same methods I have just copy pasted, and if you can see, this is the same method: Google test, Firefox, Facebook test, and Flipkart test. And so basically, these two classes have explained, like driver factory and the browser factory. So after this extent report, I have already explained. So same thing in extent report also, it has to create one private constructor, and it has to create one private static attribute, and then it has to create one static method. So this is just a design pattern of singleton. And the same way we have created a extent report thread local object, like get extent and set extent, which we are calling basically I think in the base test. So if you can see here only we are just calling it, I think we calling directly here in the test class only. Okay, let's I think here we are calling, like in the after method, get extend, whenever we are creating the screenshot, right? So we are calling the extend factory dot get instance, and then get extend will get me all the desired methods, and it will add the screenshot here. Same thing I'm doing it for the, I think for the logging of the skip test cases here. So, and he also logging the failed test cases. So that is the use of this get and set method basically. So I have covered all these things, and also we have created one retry analyzer class which will implement my iRetry analyzer interface, and it has a method called retry which will whatever failed test cases, it will check whether my this is my variable which will check whether the max limit it has reached or not. If it is not, it will increment, and it will keep on retrying that method. So I have created one variable here in my properties file, retry count. Okay, then Hello guys, so we were discussing in the last lecture about ThreadLocal. So how we can use ThreadLocal object to run our test cases in a different threads whenever we are creating a thread, our Chrome driver or Firefox driver object. So we have already discussed about these different test classes, how we can configure our, like how we can set our driver and how we can get the driver and launch the URL and get the thread ID of that particular test method and the title of that page. So since we have created all these four classes, and we have also discussed about base test class. So like what is there in base suit, base test, like before suit, before class, and before method, and same thing for after method. So now we will go to our TestNG class. How? Because we are going to run these different classes or different suits in parallelly. So just a second. Yeah. So this is my TestNG class, which I'm going to run parallelly. Like different, I have created one test, which is my first class, and this is my second test, third test, and fourth test. And at the suit level, because we are going to run these four classes as a suit, so we have created here suit name and then the parallel as test. So we are going to run all these tests parallelly, and we are also giving the thread count. So we can give any value of thread count starting from 1. So basically this all these tests 1 2 3 4 will run parallelly, and the thread count will be 2, and each test will have one class, and each class has four different test methods. So first is Google test, Facebook test, and then Flipkart test, and the Mantra test. So these four methods of one class will run uh, in a sequential manner, but these tests will run in a parallel, because we have given parallel is equal to test, not parallel is equal to methods. So each and every test will run in a separate thread. We will show you the output also. So this is about TestNG configuration. And also, since we have also configured extend report, and we are using this get extend and set extend, we are logging the events here. Like whenever this drive title is fetched, we are putting it as an info, and what is the URL. And also we have uh, added some listener here. So this is my listener class, which is implementing iTest listener, and using extend report object only, we have created these are the different listener method. Like based on the result, this iTest result, it will log the events. So if on starting, it will just create the extend report, uh, uh, and it will on success, basically it is logging the event in my extend report, whether that test method is pass, so that will log it as pass. If it is fail, it will log it as fail, and it will also take the screenshot using this code. And the same way, if it is skip, or then it will log it as a skip. So these are some of the listener methods which I'm extending from this iTest listener interface. And now we will try to run this as a suit using TestNG XML file. So let's try to run it now. So I'm running it as run as TestNG suit. See, it has started the execution now. So we have given thread count as 2 here. So it should launch two browsers. See, it has launched two different Chrome browsers. So it has started uh, 17th thread and 18th thread. So basically it is running test as parallelly. See, it is running So thread count is 17 and 18 here. So first it has executed Facebook test in two different, and then it has executed Flipkart test. So it is currently executing Flipkart test cases parallelly. One is done. So now it has opened the Google test in second thread. So at a time, two browsers are opened and it will executing two different. So every time it is opening only two browsers because we are given thread count as 2, and currently it is executing in a parallel mode with thread count as now 18 is running. I think 17 is still launching it. So yeah, 17 is also done. So if you can see, 17 is also executed. Now it has opened another tested thread count 17. Yes. So one by one it is executing to test as parallel with thread count as 2. So totally we have 4 plus 4 plus 4 plus 4, totally 16 test methods and 4 different classes, and these are executing in parallel to test with thread count as 2. I think it is executing the last. I think Flipkart is still stuck there. As you can see, all these methods are executing only in two threads, 17 and thread ID 17 and thread ID 18. Right. Yes, so there were totally 4 tests which are run parallelly. So here you can see in TestNG we have run parallel equal to thread with thread count as 2, and all the 4 tests got passed. And if you can go to TestNG, so here if you see, this is my login test 1. Yeah, so it has basically, this is my first test, this is my first test, this is my second test, third test, and fourth test. So this is all about parallel execution, guys. So we have executed all these uh, different tests parallelly, and I think, yeah, it has executed uh, these two tests. And this is method local. Now test 3. Okay, so we will check our execution output also in the extent report, since we have executed all these tests, login test 1, 2, 3, and 4 parallelly. So we will go to our uh, path where my reporting is done. So if you open this base test, we have already configured our extent report path in this default directory under reports. So let us go to that path. So, or else we can directly open it from here. Properties. This is the path. So here it has created this HTML file, which is my basically extent report. If you can see, today is 8th October and 7:35. So this is my latest report based on the timestamp. We can open it in a browser. So if you open it, this is my beautiful report which got generated after running our 4 different tests, login test 1, 2, 3, and 4 parallelly. So here you can see it has 4 tests are passed, and this is my configuration done. So here I have given my report name as report regression testing, 4 tests, login test 1, 2, 3, 4. So if you go to first test, it will show these different methods which are there within this test, and this is my class name, uh, parallel testing. So if you can go to, I'll close all these things. So this is my class name, parallel testing group, thread local, and within this class I'm running 4 different test methods: Facebook test, Flipkart test. So if you open this, this is my first test, Flipkart test, Google test, and Myntra test. So all these logs are coming basically from accident report. So if you see at the test level, we have taken what is the title and what is the URL. So it is printing what is the title, and title is Facebook, and this is the URL, and the logging of whether test case pass and fail is coming from the listener. So if the test case is passed, it will log whether this method is passed. So test is passed here. Same way for Flipkart also. If any failures are there, it will capture the screenshot and mark it as failed. Right now it is marking pass. So if you can see, my all the 4 tests are pass, pass, pass. So class is also pass, and even the first test is pass. Same way for second one, it will capture the title and the URL and mark it as pass. Same way on third and fourth test cases are pass. And this is my dashboard. And basically, if you have any failures, it will show here pass and fail. Right now I don't have any failures. And this is my dashboard, like how many tests, 4 tests are executed, start time, end time, how much time it took to execute, and these are different environment variables like platform, Windows, browser, and all. So we were discussing about the extent report, guys. So uh, this is my extent report which got generated. So if you can see here, these are the 4 different tests. If you go to dashboard, 4 tests got passed, which is login test 1, 2, 3, and 4, and each test has, this is my class name. If you can see parallel test, uh, testing thread local, and it has 4 different methods: Facebook test, Flipkart, Google, and Myntra, and each test has logged the event, what is the title and what is the URL, and whether the test got passed. So we have taken this log from here, title of that URL page, and the URL name, what is the URL. So each and every test will be having these 2 as my events, and if test is part, it is taking the from this listener. Basically, if my test got passed, it will log whether the test case is passed or failed. If it is failed, it will capture the screenshot accordingly. So this is first test, this is second test with the class name and the test name. So if you can see, all the 4 methods got passed here, and correspondingly the class is passed, and also my test is also passed. So this is for third test and fourth test. So same way we can go to our this is my dashboard, where it is showing different how many test cases got passed. 4 tests got passed, and this is the environment variable like Windows, platform, browser, Chrome, and operating system, and starting and end time, and how much time it took, and 4 tests, and the 16 tests got passed. So this is beautiful extent report which got executed through parallel execution of my test cases through TestNG XML file, which I ran through parallel to test in our ThreadCon 2. And we have used in this different concepts. One is basically TestNG, and then we have used the concept of basically extend what is a thread local. Along with thread local, we have also used how we can uh, create our basically singleton pattern, where how one class will have only one object, single instance, and we have created using that singleton design pattern and TestNG along with thread local, how we can run these test cases parallelly. So hope you enjoy the session and take advantage of the different concept covered in this session, like single pattern and thread local TestNG configuration, how we can run our suite in parallel. Thank you guys. Thank you for watching the video. See you in the next session.